You ask the guys on top of Fortune 500 companies, right? What was their biggest investment? Immediately, they may think financial investment, but the biggest investment is in friendship. It's in
Relationship.
yes, in their relationship. Because if you ask them where they took their biggest losses, there's a column that simply states in Forbes that says married and divorced, right? And this is where Fortune 500 companies turned into Fortune 250.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right. But one little secret that you guys don't understand, when these guys do go through the divorce, sometimes they let the woman get 50% because they're going to get taxed on the money anyway.
Who pays on a first date?
Who pays?
Who pays on the first date?
Whoever idea it was to go on a date.
I kind of agree with him with this, because if you really want to go on a date with someone, you should pay, because you're the one that's pursuing them. Not in all situations, but in most situations, that's how it should go down. You shouldn't go on a date and then try to split the bill when you're the one who invited the other person out.
Sometimes the breakup is actually the blessing. Why be so heartbroken about the breakup when you have to remember the reason you broke up? You break up because something ain't going right. You got to free yourself. There was nothing so great about her that you would want that again. If I compare another woman to my ex, it's because I want to make sure I don't get my ex again.
And Steve is absolutely right. You guys have to understand that you get in a cycle of dating the same type of woman, and then when you break up with that woman, you want her back. Majority of the questions that I get in my email is, how do I get back my ex? Because I'm still stuck on her. You have to realize she is an ex for a reason, and it did not work. The best thing for men to do after a breakup is to reinvent yourself. That's the only way you're going to get over a woman, is reinventing yourself and finding a way to be successful at something. When you start to get on the grind and you start to set goals for yourself, you're going to feel better about yourself and gain more confidence when you start to accomplish little goals that lead up to bigger goals. The more dopamine releases you get in your life, the less hardships you're going to go through. You're going to notice the person that loves to travel can get in and out of relationships because they know how to channel their emotions into other things. While a lot of people, when you get out of a relationship, it's hard for you to move on because you're too worried about the next time you're going to date. And when you think about the next time you're going to date, that's what hurts, because you just can't run out and get another woman.
Ross and TLA, do you think it is if it's a binary option, would it be better to marry woman A, who's like a boss babe, modern woman, feminist almost, like worker, versus traditional woman, housewife, more conventional type of women? If those were the only two options, what would you prefer?
Yeah, it really depends on the couple's individual personalities. Like, I've done this for so long, looking at divorces and marriages for 2 decades. I see it a lot differently than normal people who are not in the industry. And what I've come to see is that if two people are really going to work long term, then their personalities have to line up. And one of the biggest factors in terms of personality, you can just say, for example, is the woman's disagreeability, right?
He's absolutely right. It has to be chemistry. A lot of relationships are together for on-surface relationships, which means that they're together to look good in front of other people. They're together to try to make other people jealous. Like, look, I'm not sad and lonely. I got somebody, because that's how they feel when they're by themselves, that they think other people are going to look at them as an accomplishment. And it's not necessarily true. Majority of the relationships that are trying to show you they're happy on surface typically don't have any chemistry behind the scenes.
And so you'll have a lot of women who are, the boss bitch and all this and all that, and they're really hard driving in their jobs, because you kind of have to be hard driving in the business world if you want to get stuff done. The issue is that the level of disagreeability that is required to succeed in the workplace sometimes can make it very difficult to negotiate a long-term relationship.
He's right. This is what makes women very combative, is the fact that they have to jump into alpha frame in order to be successful in real life. And there's a lot of women in this space that have told men that if I was in a relationship, I would be more submissive. If I was in a relationship, I would be less tough with men because I have to be tough at my job. I have to be dedicated and more adaptable to their job and more driven at their job to be successful, that they take this combativeness with men. And this is what scares a lot of men off from women, is the fact that men, when they see a woman that they like, they don't want to argue back and forth with her, because a lot of guys fall in love instantly, which is not love, it's lust. And that lust hurts whenever it's being combated.
And so if the woman is going to have a high level of disagreeability, that is going to cause some instability in a long-term relationship or in marriage. It might be okay if the husband's level of disagreeability is higher. What you want a gap between the husband's level of disagreeability and the wife's level, right?
This is why a lot of women love alpha males, because a lot of alpha males get a really good woman that calms them down. Like with me, I'm a very dominant male, but I have a woman who is very sensitive, that my dominancy causes me to treat her a certain way and more respectable, because she calms me down a lot. But if you're an alpha male and your woman's been alpha, only thing that you're going to do is argue and fight all the time.
Now, if you start getting too high on that, then a partnership isn't going to work at all, because each person is just looking out for themselves. So you want a couple, ideally, you want both parties to have a lower level of disagreeability, but you kind of want the man's disagreeability to be higher than the woman's.
Okay, so follow up. What's funny, we were talking about how personalities need to mesh earlier, but disagreeability, I want to kind of stay there for a second. For a man to be disagreeable, why does that benefit a man? And what is it like? What are some other adjectives or descriptions if a woman is disagreeable? So I kind of want to unpack why it benefits a man, but why it's worse for a woman in a relationship.
I kind of understand what he's saying, because he's trying to say, well, how come a man can be disagreeable, but a woman can't be disagreeable? 9 times out of 10, the woman is disagreeable because she has something to prove that she's lacking knowledge to. She's just trying to prove herself. When a man is disagreeable, it could be because of his ego.
Benefits a man in so many different ways. You know,
I'm disagreeable as fuck, bro.
And that's awesome. And really, that's the way it should be. Disagreeability will protect a man. Men, a lot of times, will have this chip in them to exalt a woman, to put her on a pedestal, to call her a unicorn, and they will start making sacrifices that they would not make for anyone else.
We got to give him credit on that. He's absolutely right. When a man is agreeable to a woman, you're just putting her on a pedestal. Why? Because women are living in la-la land. They're living more delusional lives. What comes out of their mouth is not necessarily how they feel. So if you find yourself agreeing with a woman, one thing that you're going to find yourself is running in circles. But when you're disagreeable with a woman, you're showing her that you can stand your ground, which makes you more attractive and dominant.
And one of these huge sacrifices can involve marriage, certainly a marriage with no prenup. And they're setting themselves up for a huge fall on the back end when they get into divorce court. And I have represented tons of men, tons of women over 20 years, and I have seen the destruction that takes place. Like, no one has seen more men break down in tears while their kids get taken away, the equity in their home gets stolen, their retirement, their pension gets stolen by these judges. They have so much to lose.
From a male perspective, Ross and TL.
Woo, he's absolutely right. Being agreeable in the relationship is giving her the lead. The more you give a woman the lead, the more she's going to feel unprotected. This is why a lot of women do go through a divorce. If they feel like their man is weakening up, they feel like they're the leader, then when they go to court, they're going to do you wrong. A lot of guys have to understand, the more nice you are to a woman, the more she's going to take advantage of you. If you go somewhere and a woman asks you for a favor and you do that favor, 9 times out of 10, she's going to come back and ask you for another favor. She's going to continue to ask you favor, because if you give a woman an inch, she'll take a mile. Then after she takes her mile, she'll get away from you.
You were at your peak value. You had zero interest in monogamy. But then you find a man who's 35 at his peak value. He's finally struggled and worked, because when he was 19, no girl spoke to him. When he was 23, he was broke. When he was 24, he had no life experience. When he was 25, he couldn't fuck. When he was 20, whatever. He finally gets to the point where he's now at his peak value. Him at 35 is you when you were 19. And then you're sitting there saying to him, no, you should be monogamous. It's like, well, you fucking weren't. You did whatever you wanted in your peak. Now I'm finally got there. And I had to work for my shit. God gave you. God and L'Oreal gave you. I had to fucking struggle. I had to go through hell to get on this yacht. You got on the yacht with an Instagram DM. I had to buy it. And now you're telling me I need to fucking settle down and behave and grow up? Fuck that.
He's absolutely right. See, roles reverse in life when a man is out here on his grind. In your 20s, it's not going. You're not living that rapper lifestyle, and I think that's what a lot of people get conflicted with. It's watching celebrities and rappers at a young age be successful, and you feel like you have to compete with that. But in reality, a man is not going to reach his peak success until he's in his 30s. And while you're reaching peak success, women are normally reaching their peak at looks. So they want to run the streets in their 20s and use their beauty to get ahead. And then when you go through all those years to become the best version of yourself, they want you to start acting properly and mature. But you're kind of like, hey, I worked hard at this level. I should be able to do what I want to do, because you got to do what you want to do in your 20s when you were ignoring all these men. All right, big shout outs to Andrew Tate. Hopefully everything turns out good for him. Comment, like, subscribe to both of my channels. Hopefully you guys like these videos. Get in the comments and let me know what you think. Hasta la vista.